Cheers. Alright, you masters, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today we're going to talk about the survival uses of whiskey. Yeah, whiskey. I know all survival and alcohol are not a good mix, but in my opinion, whiskey is one of those overlooked and undervalued uh, s- um tools for survival. And I will tell you in a minute why. But first, if you're interested in detective stories, this is the first part of an 11-part series that I wrote called Bloody Crosses. It's in Dutch, and if you're interested, the link will be down in the description. So yeah, whiskey. Uh, I'm a huge whiskey fan. There is one drink that I really like. It's whiskey, and yeah, whiskey. It's one of those types of alcohol that has some valuable properties for preppers and survivalists. Of course, yeah, it also depends on what sort of whiskey. So, yeah, I will name the survival uses of it, and I would, if I have a bug out bag, I would put at least one bottle of whiskey inside of it. And why? For the first reasons is more for morale. If you are with a bug out group, and yeah, you can share some boost together. That could keep up the morale, do more bonding. It's a little bit taking a little bit the edge off, but be very careful if you have somebody in the group who is prone to alcoholism or needs or is more easy in nature to abuse alcohol for trying to get to sleep, getting over stress and problems, then it's not a good idea, or at least don't do it more openly in front of them, because then their morale will go down and that could cause some internal problems. But if you do not have that problem, I prefer whiskey for that reason, because in contrary to other types of alcohol like rum or vodka, the problem is those are types of alcohol you can just chug in, and yeah, we all know that how some party people can drink. But whiskey is kind of different, because if you can see this small bit of whiskey, that is for me enough. For me personally, at least as a whiskey lover, is enough for at least half an hour of pleasure, because it's the aroma, it's the strong smell, the strong taste that will keep me busy with even this small of whiskey, to enjoy, not just whoop, chuck it in and show that I have the biggest and most eroded liver of the group. But yeah, that's one reason. Second reason is medical uses, because whiskey is has a high alcohol percentage. You can put this onto flesh wounds, and it will start to disinfect the flesh wound. It will hurt like hell, I know, but it has multiple purposes that way. And I must also warn you, it depends on what kind of alcohol level it is. Some whiskeys are a little bit lower, so they are less effective. So that's something you need to take in account with. And also, don't take whiskeys that have certain added, how do you say this? Flavors is perhaps the best word. So if you have whiskey with fruits, with fruit flavor inside of it, or dairies for some reason could happen, don't use those kind of whiskeys, because those will spoil very fast because of the continents that will start to spoil very fast. So I'm talking about pure whiskey. Another thing is, you can make a fire with whiskey. Many people will think that you can just throw a match inside of this and it will start to flame, but that is not always the case. What you better do is, if you have a piece of kindle, a wood, or wood tinder that you want to burn, put some whiskey on it, let it soak in till and let the vapors disperse, and then you can start. You can try to ignite the tinder much better. So that's another way use that you can have for whiskey. And actually, another medical use is, we all know about, if we saw the movies about the civil wars, that patients who have to go to surgery, they get feed a lot of whiskey, so they will, as a sort of pain relief, or knock them out. And yeah, actually, there is a reason why they did that, because for a higher percentage of the patients it worked, but be very carefully about how you use this. If somebody needs some dramatic amputation or another medical emergency that needs some pain reliever, I would say be very carefully about what condition you give them in. I would say look up some advanced medical aid advice or books, and in what cases you can use this and in what cases not. A case that you cannot use it are head wounds, because there are small the ear are the smallest blood vessels, and or other bleedings that are continuing, and whiskey will open open the veins wider, and that will increase the blood flow. But for some other wounds or medical procedures, it's actually helping because it relaxes the muscles. It's relaxing in the body. It will lower your heart rate and such. So yeah, for some medical practices it's good, for some it makes it worse. So I would say ask an expert. Yeah, an expert will always say do not give them alcohol because they are learned to not take risk. But if we look into history, there's a reason why they did the things that they did, and that was because a higher percentage, it was still a high rate of infections and casualties, yeah, I know, but they saw that there was a benefit to in wider use if you look at the numbers. So yeah, I would say it's about your own judgment and knowledge and skills on when you're going to use this. Another thing is to disinfect tools and medical tools. If you have whiskey on you and you need to perform some medical uh, thing with a knife or something that you got, I would say take a small plate that is a little bit deeper. Pour whiskey in. If you got a needle for sewing, a knife for like some small minor surgical procedure, put it in the inside of whiskey, let it soak in for 5 minutes, and the bacteria and other pathogens will be killed by the high alcohol contents of the whiskey. So yeah, that's another thing that you can do. Another use of whiskey is, like I said before, not only bonding with your group, but if you come in contact with other people that you need a favor of, like if you during a bug out encounter a person that you ask them for, can I sleep in your barn or some other small, or can I get perhaps fill up my water bottles on your tap or something, or can I get this or this, and you can give them something in exchange for that. So that's also a sort of bonding, trusting kind of situation that you can do if you're going to talk somebody. It's like if you give them something to drink, they will be more easily persuade or will be more friendly than if you just ask for things without something else in return. So that's also a good thing. Another thing is bartering. If you need something from somebody, like perhaps there is a sort of out control post, or how do you say this, a checkpoint by some corrupt policemen, military, some bandits, or local people that try to protect their community, and you just want to pass through, but they make it difficult. You can, in a way, barter for stuff, or you can barter for entrance or a passage with a bottle of whiskey. So yeah, in a time where money is nothing, is worthless, this kind of a commodity will be more valuable and be more used as a bartering item, especially during a bug out that is wider spread, to say, like during a war situation. So yeah, you can bribe a soldier with a bottle of whiskey if they are being very difficult. Yeah, so that's another thing that you can do with it. Uh, and another survival use of whiskey. This is actually not the whiskey itself, but the bottle. I prefer to use thicker bottles if I'm going to put this in my bug out bag. Why? Because if it starts to knock, if I drop my bag or something knocks against it or get pushed or something hard comes against it, you have some bottles that will crack easily. So these whiskey bottles are usually very, very thick, and that's a good thing. They also have a cork or some yeah, it's more because they are more expensive that they have a better cork or a cap on top of them. So what you can do is you can put some water inside of it, and you can, as a sort of extra water bottle that you can use in a way. And then what you can also do, if you have a very small amount of whiskey left and you think you put some water, you can first filter some water inside of it. The whiskey that is still left will be, in a way, I'm not sure about this. It will also depend on the amount of whiskey there is still left in it. It can give a little bit of a side taste to the water. It will clean the water a little bit, killing the pathogens, like I said before. But that depends on the amount of alcohol there is still left inside of it. So this is something that you must do on your own judgment, I would say. Yeah, and these are my another perhaps survival use could be the glass itself. If somebody attacks your group, especially when there is alcohol involved, and some group is or some persons are attacking someone, the aggressors, and they start to be using lethal force, you can start to smash the bottle and shove it inside of their neck. So yeah, that's a grim, but it's also a survival use of the bottle itself that you can use as an improvised weapon in a way. Talking about improvised weapons, if you have whiskey and the alcohol percentage are enough, you can turn this into a Molotov cocktail in a way. But I think it's better that you mix it with some other flammable materials to make it more flammable, because only the whiskey, it will be very hard and it will burn for not that long. But it just I don't say you have to do this all, but these are just ideas that you can use. You can use certain items. It's not only the whiskey, but several survival tools can be used as multi tools for other purposes, as long as you have the fantasy, if you have the improvisation, if you have the knowledge. You can find several other uses for any object that you have. That's what a prepper does. A prepper sees an object and not only thinks, "Oh, I can do that with that." No, a prepper thinks, "I can do that with that in that situation. I can do that with that, and that could be handy to use it also for that. And in a pinch, I can do this with it," because that's what a prepper do. The mind of a prepper is its best survival tool. The Who said it all again? The mind of the mind of a human is the most dangerous weapon, or something. It was in that line. So that was the video. If you have any survival uses for, or know any other survival uses for whiskey, leave it in the comments. Oh, by the way, one more thing. Whiskey has a certain caloric and sugary energy boost. So that's another benefit of it. I forgot to say that. So where was I? Yeah. Subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. If you have any other survival uses for whiskey, please let me know it. I'm always eager to learn. And yeah. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Cheers.